Today we're going to be talking about knife skills and how to cut up vegetables. We've got the holy trinity, what we call in Louisiana, our celery, onions, bell pepper, and we throw in garlic sometimes. I'm going to talk first about different types of knives that we use. I have here a 10-inch chef's knife, which is a knife that is very versatile, that can be used for a lot of different things of cutting in the kitchen, fruits, vegetables, even different types of meats. Another good knife to have on hand is a filet knife. Of course, it's not just for fish, but you can use it to bone out chicken and cut different types of meat. It's also good for intricate types of cutting with the real pointed end there. And then, of course, all cooks need a good little paring knife that's also good for intricate cuts and cutting smaller things. We're going to start with our onion, and you'll notice here we have different colored cutting boards, just to talk a little bit about food safety, because you want to make sure when you're cutting up different types of food, fruits and veggies versus protein foods like meat, poultry, fish, you want to use separate cutting boards. That's the best practice. If not, make sure you wash and sanitize in between uses. We'll start with our onion. Now, an old wives' tale that I learned way back was that if you cut the root end of the onion off first, it won't make you cry. Well, of course, that is not true. That's an old wives' tale. I have found the best way to keep from that onion making you cry is keep it cold. So we're going to go ahead, just because it's an old wives' tale, we're going to cut the root end off first, like so. We're going to cut the other end off, like so. I want you to notice while I'm cutting, I'm keeping my knife tip on the board. That's really the safest way to do it. Move our peelings out. We're going to make one little slit in the onion here to get that peeling off, that outer layer. Okay? It's always good to get to a good flat surface when you're cutting something. It keeps it safer. So you're going to get right here, and this is where we use our little paw. You kind of make a little paw with your fingers, put that knife tip on the board, cut it in half. Then you've got two flat pieces here. Now this is how a chef cuts an onion, and you probably have been cutting onions differently your entire life, but I can tell you, this tried and true, chefs do this. This is how we cut them, and once you learn how to do it and kind of get your practice on it, it's really the most efficient way to dice an onion. So what we're going to do is make 3 horizontal cuts this way. And 5 vertical cuts this way. Like I said, I'm using my little paw here to keep that onion nice and straight. Okay, once you've got that done, cut across, and you have a perfectly diced onion. Now, like I said, while that might seem kind of tedious, it really is very efficient. What we'll do with the rest of that end is what we call rough chop. Okay. Always use the back part of the knife to move your vegetables on the board to keep from dulling the blade. Okay, so we have a pod of garlic here. We're going to break off a couple cloves. Just need a couple for our recipe. Now with garlic, I'm going to use that 10-inch chef's knife. The easiest way to get that peeling off is to crack it, put it on the board, like I said, find the flattest surface you can. Take the end of the knife here and kind of crack it like that. Then it'll easily peel. Now the peelings stick to the board, so you kind of want to keep them off the board if you can. Okay, you can cut that tiny little root end off if you want to. Okay, and we're just going to mince the garlic, and mincing is just little tiny intricate cuts. It's kind of like that rough chop we did on the end of the onion. Notice, like I said, I'm keeping the tip of my knife on the board. You don't hear my knife making any noise. Okay, now we're going to cut up our bell pepper, and this might be a little bit different way of doing it than you've done it before, but we're going to cut the ends off. And don't throw those away. You use them. We're going to scoot them to the side. Now I'm going to grab that paring knife, and I'm going to core out the bell pepper. You're just going to take the paring knife, like I said, little intricate cuts with it, and separate that membrane. That prevents you from getting those seeds everywhere. Cut it in half. Now we're going to dice this bell pepper. That's what our recipe calls for. You want to keep your knife sharp, you want to use, when you're cutting the bell pepper, have it skin side down. So like I said, I'm moving my vegetable, keeping my knife tip on the board. These long straight cuts we're doing right now are called julienne cuts. Okay, get it all back in a little pile here, and then we're going to go crossways. Kind of like we did our onion. You go horizontal first and then you go vertical, or vice versa. Okay, so we're going to use about 3 stalks of celery for our recipe. We've got it rinsed really good. You always want to make sure you rinse that really well in cold running water. We're going to just cut the ends off just because they're a little bit brown, not that they're not safe to use. Now I'm going to just cut the celery in half like this, okay? So we're going to make some of those long, skinny julienne strips. And then we're going to dice this. And this, about 3 stalks of celery. It's about a cup. So now that our Trinity's complete, you have what you need to build a healthy Louisiana meal. Check out our next segment on how to make gumbo.